All right, David, I appreciate you jumping on this Zoom call, man, and giving me 10, 15 minutes of your time to share a little bit about your experience with us here at Exotic Car Factory. But before we get started, just wanted you to share your name, a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background. What do you do? And then we can kind of go from there.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the invite. And my name is David Pacheco. I recently purchased 2021 Huracan from you guys. I have a window business. I actually do vinyl, energy efficient windows and doors for residential out here in the valley, out of Canoga Park.
Wow, that's cool. So explain that a little bit more. What exactly do you do?
Yeah, well, we although we do energy efficient windows for homes, so we replace them, mainly residential properties. We don't do commercial.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. So
when you say energy efficient, tell me, someone that doesn't have energy efficient versus someone that does windows with you, what are their savings on their electric bill or gas bill for heater or summer electricity for AC? What is the difference on those bills?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. It goes up to you'll see I would say a good 25-30% decrease on the bill. So it's one of those accumulative things, so where you're paying a certain amount a month, and then you replace your windows, and then eventually you'll start seeing a decrease on your bill, because you are now having an energy efficient home where the hot air, cold air doesn't go out, in the summer, the cold air, of course, and in the wintertime, all the warm air in the home doesn't escape from the windows at all. So
absolutely,
clearly all of the exterior elements do not penetrate the home at that point.
Wow. Well, I know my electricity bill is like $500 a month. So if it can help me save $150 a month, that's $1,800 a year over 20 years. That's a lot of money. That's like 40 grand.
Exactly. Not to mention you also appreciate the value on the property. So that's a big one.
Yeah. I'm sure the value of the windows itself is already appreciated in the house. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. So it's a win-win.
You bought a Huracan from us. Before I get into the cars part of things, tell me a little bit about your family. Tell us a little bit about you're married, kids. Obviously, I know your story.
Yeah, I'm married. I've been married already for 17 years. I got married at 24 years old. I'm about to turn 40 now. So it's been I have two beautiful kids, two beautiful girls.
Good.
It's been a roller coaster, not in the marriage itself, but more in the aspects of life, work, how things are in the economy with the ups and downs, all those, fluctuations and whatnot. So it's some people don't think, or maybe they don't know, they haven't gone to that yet, but that affects the marriage to a certain extent as well. Sure. So where you have to create a balance.
Yeah. So you bought an exotic. Have you ever had an exotic before? Tell me a little bit about your story behind this, coming into the world of wanting a Huracan or a Lamborghini or any exotic. Like, how did this start? Did you always want the Huracan? What was it?
Yeah, I'm a car guy. I've always been in the car scene. When I say I have a team of a lot of friends and in the car scene, where we would go to shows. We have some track edition cars. I myself had a Mitsubishi Evo 2011 to the Mitsubishi Evo 10. It was pretty tricked out. Came out on a few magazines, Japan magazines here, American magazines. Won a lot of trophies like Best Mitsubishi, some of the major shows like out of Wegfest, San Jose, etc. And I mean, I've always been what they say, once a car guy, you're always a car guy. It doesn't matter. In the transition of that car scene into wanting an exotic, Lamborghini has always been the car that I've always wanted. I would always say it, all of my buddies, all of my close buddies, I'm sure I must have saturated their ears with, oh, I'm gonna get a Lambo, they would always hear me talk about it and whatnot.
So putting it out there to the universe.
Yeah. So I was just,
how long have you been doing that?
Oh man, you mean talking about the Lamborghini? Oh, that was, I would say, probably since 2002, 2003, something like that. So
Wow.
like
Okay. So you're talking
I
like
was still
20
a kid.
years.
Yeah, I was still a kid, So it's like, but I would always talk about Lamborghini, always about Lamborghini, and again, being a car guy, got into the car scene with the Mitsubishi Evo and other cars and whatnot. So I would always, when we go to these shows, you do see a small group of people with those cars, with the Lamborghinis, Ferraris, anything exotic. So I would always, go by. At that point, I was like a fan of them.
Yeah.
And when I had a car myself in the car show, you know what I mean? So it's
Yep.
like I
Yep.
was their fan. So I would go check out their cars, be like, wow, this is sick, it's a Lambo, and it was all decked out. So it's like it was one of those things where I knew that eventually, just keep working for it, keep pushing and pushing. I was gonna get there. So I would always talk about it because I knew that's what I was pushing for.
Okay. So fast forward 20 years, you're about to get your exotic. Now, before we get into that, tell me about your buying, selling experience over the last 2, 3, 4 years. How's it been? What are some pain points? What are some hurdles going through the, car buying process?
Yeah. In the last 3, 4 years, I mean, with everything with COVID and whatnot, that everybody went through, it was, again, same thing. It was pretty harsh, because you start looking for cars. I wasn't looking for me to get a sports car for me at that point. It was more like a family thing, wanted to get an Escalade for the family, but markups, they started doing these crazy markups on the vehicles and whatnot. So it was kind of crazy. It
Yeah.
was, it was pretty crazy to buy a car at that time, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where I was just kind of, like the Escalade we got, I had to order it, so that I could avoid certain markups that at the dealerships were doing. They were marking it up 10, 15 grand,
Yeah.
just because. So it was money just given away. If you go walk in there and say, "Oh, you want it," and then you got to give up extra money just so you can take the car.
Yep. Supply and demand, right?
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
So were you ready to buy an exotic when you came to us? Tell me a little bit about your mindset. Where were you at?
Mentally, I've always been ready.
You what? Say
But
that again?
I said mentally, I've always been ready. But
20 years prepping.
reality was something different, back then. When it came to me, it was also one of those crazy things because I had I had recently purchased when once I met you, um, maybe a month or two before that, I had recently purchased a 2023 Mercedes S580.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted a luxury car, and a nice one, by the way. So I ended up getting that car, right?
Yeah.
But then I met you, and then little did I know that I was able to actually buy my Lambo, the Huracan. Um, I went for a Huracan because I've always liked the body style of the car. That's one. Second, I always known that price wise as well, it was more reachable for me at that moment. So I was like, okay, that's doable.
Yeah.
But I landed with you guys. I don't know. I don't even know exactly how, as far as how fast it happened, considering I had just purchased a car a month
Yep.
prior. So it was one of those things. Is like, dude, who buys another car a month later?
Sure.
And it was like, why? It was one of those. It was weird, but it
Yeah.
happened. So it felt right. So everything was pretty much pretty smooth, I can say.
Now, you came from pretty far. Like you live all the way in like the valley. Remind me
I
what
live in
county?
Simi Valley. It's a
Simi?
Ventura County.
Yeah, Ventura County. We're in Orange County.
Yeah.
You drove down here 2 hours, almost
Yep.
3 hours, I remember, just
Yep.
to come see the car.
Late at night.
Late at night. Yeah, I stayed open late at night because
Yeah.
we had to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
after work hours.
I remember that. I remember, and I was texting you. I was like, "Hey, are you sure you're gonna wait for me? Are you sure?"
Yeah.
You're like, "Hey, if you're coming down, I'll wait for you." So I know I ended up exceeding the time. I know I mentioned I'd be there a certain time, and then I was like an hour late or something because of the traffic buildup.
Yeah. I think we are saying 7:30, ended up being 8:39.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
And then
it was one of those things. It was, again, it was weird, but weird in the sense that it was crazy for me to think that a month later I was gonna go through that purchase again with the car that I've always wanted, that I've
Yeah.
always been talking about for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, what were your thoughts going through the process? You came, you saw the car. What were you thinking when you came to our building? What were you thinking going through the process with us? And tell me a little bit about the highlights of everything that you remember.
Very surreal. I mean, it's like a kid at a candy store, you know, the moment you open up your shop and you see all these crazy cars, all these exotic cars all in under one roof, and you're like, wow. Funny story is, I don't know if you remember, I actually came by to check out the Ferrari you had for
Yep.
sale. So you were showing me that Ferrari. That's what I was coming for.
It was the 488, right?
For 488, yep.
Yep.
Yep. And but again, I've always been a Lamborghini guy, but without me having to own a Lamborghini yet, right? I was always stuck to that brand for some reason. And I remember when I came to check out the Ferrari, you had the Lambo right there as well, and I was like, I didn't know
And
you
you
had
got
this
stuck
yet.
on it.
Yeah, yeah, remember that?
You made me pull out both cars.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that, and I was like, no, no way. And you were like, yeah, I have both, and both are ready. If you know, you make the choose. So one thing that I will tell you, what I really liked at that moment from you was the fact that you said, brother, you have to drive both cars. You have to make sure that you know exactly which one you want before you make the purchase. To me, it makes no difference which one you take, but drive both. You
Yep.
make that decision. You know, other people, you know, sometimes they're pushy. You know, salesmen. So I know you're not a salesman. What I'm saying is, you know, salesmen in general, they're pushy about when you're coming to buy a car. Sometimes they want to sell you what they want to sell you,
Sure.
not what you want to buy. Right.
Sure.
So that's one big mistake from us, you know, when you're about to consume and buy a car, purchase a car.
Yeah.
That's one big mistake. You know, you got to know what you're going there for. At that moment, you can say that I was going to make that mistake, considering that I was going there to go look at a car that technically I had never even talked about.
Yeah. You
Right?
might not be happy with long term.
Exactly. Exactly. And it wasn't going to fulfill that void of, oh, I bought a exotic car.
Wow.
You know? So I remember that when I sat in that car, it didn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I remember I told you, I was like, I don't know.
No,
It was,
I knew right away once you drove the Huracan, that was it. You had a
yeah,
smile on your face, your feelings, your everything, your connection with that Huracan. It was a love at first sight, instant connection.
correct. The Ferrari was a faster car. I felt it faster.
Mm-hmm.
But none of that mattered. I was like,
Yeah.
no, like the Lambo is the car that I need to be in. The moment I sat inside that car, it felt, like you said, it was a huge connection. Then that moment I remembered, I said, this is the reason why I've always liked Lambo,
Yeah.
get along without owning one, you know? And now that I'm sitting in one, it feels just right.
Yeah. It fits you. It's your style. It's what you wanted.
Correct.
So talk about the processing when it came to financing, down payment. You don't need to give us specific numbers, but tell us, how did you feel going through that process, and what did you learn out of that process? And
For one, it's not as easy to own one of these cars.
sure.
That was but of course not impossible. Um, that's one. Second, it was overall smooth, I can say. You guys' system and connects, meaning banks and everyone that works with you guys, makes you feel good about it. And they're always, I felt like, for example, the guy that was working with me, I think
Andrew?
Andrew. Yeah,
Yep.
Andrew.
Amazon
Uh,
leasing?
there you go. So Andrew was you know, very very good. You know, he was very diligent with his information. He was super cool guy.
Yep.
You know, it's just he made the process that much of a smoother landing. I mean, I
1000.
know you're getting in you know, an expensive car, but again, me having experiences with in the past with just people in general, they're not always all that great, regardless of the the dollar amount of a car that you're buying.
Sure.
You know, if that makes sense. But with him, it was good. I can't complain.
Good. Good. So Any other highlights you want to share about your experience of buying a car with us, brother?
Um, the other major one is, I mean, I got to make a friend out of this this whole transaction.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
you know,
I think you and I become good friends. We're traveling together now. We're having fun, and kids are enjoying each other's companies. And Gabby and I especially love you and Joanna and the kids, and it just makes it more fun. And that's something that I believe in too. Not only do we, we want to help people. Obviously, we want to get them into their exotics, their dream cars, but we also want to do it right. And when you do things right, you start building relationships with people that are lifelong relationships, right?
correct,
We definitely
correct.
appreciate you, man. Not just from ECF, but also from our personal side. We definitely appreciate you and Joanna. And I guess my one of my last questions for you is, what's your next car? What are we going next? What's next? And when's the goal for that one?
So the next one would be the uh, the Aventador SV.
Okay.
That's my next goal. That's the next car that I want to be able to land on, and of course,
Uh-huh.
with you guys. Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
What's your goal? When do you want to do that?
Um, I was really hoping that this year I was hoping for that. I'm not sure if it's gonna happen or not. Other things that I'm also taking care of at the time, but if everything goes well, I want to see if maybe I can do it at the end of this year. Kind of like at the same amount around the time that I got the Huracan.
Yeah. And are
You
you
know,
planning to keep the Huracan, or you think you're going to trade it in?
that's that's the big question, kind of like where I'm stuck at decision making as far as I feel somewhat attached to the car because it's my first exotic, and again, talking about it for so many years and actually making it come true, it's a big thing for me. It's a big thing for me. Um, and then now I know that the new Lambo that's coming out in a few weeks, it's not a V10 anymore.
Sure.
So these are the last of the V10, last of the body style.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I'm having mixed feelings about it and say, you know what, maybe I want to just keep it, and if
You're
I
going to have
do,
a his
then
and hers, right? One for Joanna, one.
uh, yeah, I mean that could be. uh, and no, well, like I said, it's just that if uh if I really think about it, I feel like, man, I kind of want to keep it for that reason. You know,
I believe
I
it.
mean, it's an awesome car, man. I'm going on to a year now with it, and it's I've been having fun in it the times that I've driven it and whatnot, and it's a beautiful car. So it's like it's all good all around. So anywhere I look around it's got the power, it's got the looks.
Yep. Burns
It's
a lot of heads.
yeah, it's compact. And again, knowing that it's the last of the V10, so there's no more V10s at this point. It
Yeah.
kind of goes into the same category as the Aventador that I know the Aventador wasn't mass produced, but still, there's no more V12s other than that Revuelto. We don't know where it's gonna go to after
Yep.
that.
Yep. Yep.
So that might be the last of the V12. So
Well, I'm excited for you, man. You've achieved a big goal, personal goal, something you dreamed about, something you put out to the universe for so many years. I'm sure your kids look at you like wow, and your wife and everybody around you is super like proud of you, and I am too. It's really
thanks,
cool
man.
to see people, dream about things, right? My slogan is dare to dream, think big and think fast, and you're definitely a
Correct.
great example of that, right? You were dreaming of it, then you went and you put in work, and then the outcome is you got your dream car, and now you're expanding to your next dream car, and that's just what
Correct.
growth is all about. So super excited for you, David. I'm happy for you, man. Congratulations. I appreciate you taking the time today to kind of share your experience here, and just looking forward to helping you buy and sell more cars, and also us traveling together and having some fun, man.
For sure, man. Definitely look into it, man. And we really appreciate you and everyone out there. You and your whole family and the kids and all. So it definitely feels right. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
appreciate you, man. Well, thanks for jumping on this call, and I look forward to, maybe we'll do another review when you buy your Aventador in a few months.
Most definitely.
All
Most
right,
definitely.
brother. Thank you
All right.
so much, man.
Thank you, G. Take care, man.